everyone. Just making sure everything's set up properly, that I can see what's going on. Get started here in just a couple of moments. I want to make sure I had enough light going on as well. I am sitting in front of a window. I think I went through my little checklist. Boys are upstairs. Chris is in his man cave. The cat's up. That was important because couldn't have cats jumping on up here in the middle of a demonstration, which could happen, very well happen. Everything's on mute. Not expecting any visitors. Although Chris is washing laundry right now, so we may hear some noises in the background. Turn that off. Nobody wants to hear the voices again there. Okay, well, I do want to thank you for joining me today. I hope everyone is well. Hope everyone is practicing good social distancing. Everybody's only going out when you absolutely need to go out. As for us demonstrators, my name is Barbara. So if you've never met me before, my name is Barbara Ragsdale, and I am an independent demonstrator for Stampin' Up! Right now, all of our schedules have been kind of thrown out of whack because we can't hold classes, and so we have been forced to go online, be creative with what we can do with classes. If you're not familiar with Stampin' Up!, they are it's a paper crafting business, and we pretty much do anything paper crafting, handmade cards, scrapbooking projects. A lot of us get really creative with this, and with that, I prefer to make my own greeting cards. My own greeting cards, and I really enjoy using Stampin' Up! Products because they are quality products. I have used other products before, and you can just feel the difference in quality with our products. I've gone ahead and done a lot of prep work for this demonstration, and I think you're going to like the cards. I think they're so cute. We are going to be using, I decided to pick the Timeless Tulips. I don't know if it's backwards for you, sorry if it is. The Timeless Tulips bundle, which includes the photo polymer stamp, and then there's also a coordinating punch that punches out the flowers for us. So I am going to be doing 3 cards, and then I went ahead and did a project last night. It's just a simple little cute project that shows you what you can do when you're creative with the punch set itself. So with that, thank you for joining me, and if you're on the replay, when I point the camera down, you're going to see my website. There is a host code that's on this same paper, and so once we're done with everything, if you want to place an order, you can go straight to my website, and if you use that host code, if you use that host code, if you don't win the cards, because I am going to be giving them away, if you don't win them, you're more than welcome to go to the website, place an order. Any orders of $25 or more will get the kits to make these cards for free. You do have to purchase the stamp set and the coordinating punch, but between both of those, I think it's $30 plus shipping and tax. So you'll clearly meet that minimum in order to get the card kit for free. And of course, you can be creative with the card kit. So you don't have to make the cards that we're making here, but it is a guideline, and I will include tutorials so that you know what the measurements are, you know what the colors are. So I hope you enjoy the card. So I'm going to go ahead and point it down, and we will go ahead and get started. Okay, so here is, there's my name, my website, and then this is the host code I was referring to. So whenever you want to get online and look around and see what all Stampin' Up! Has to offer, just go straight to my website. You can do a lot of things from my website. Plus, you can also get to the blog at the same time, which has more information, more detailed information that I can't quite get onto the regular website. So the first card that we are going to be making, and I hope I'm showing this correctly because I am upside down, it's this little hello card. I love tulips. You know, tulips are so pretty, they're so simple, and quite honestly, with this particular stamp set, you can make any color tulip you absolutely want to make. So we'll be making this card. Like I said, I have done some prep work for this, so just bear with me as I reach into my bin. I'm going to be pulling everything out that I used. I'm not going to break out the big shot or anything like that because I'm limited to the space I have right here next to me as I move things over. So I've gone ahead and pre-cut some things out. Normally when we are in a classroom environment, you know, when you show up to a class, your supplies are already cut for you. So really you're doing all your stamping, you're doing any embossing, because technically embossing, die cutting, these things right here, these are all things that you learn when you come to a class. But because we're not actually doing a live class right now, I mean, we're live online, but you're not physically here with me, I've gone ahead and done a lot of things for you just to save some time. But our cardstock, this is we are using, this is Pear Pizzazz, and that's another one of the things about our products. They all coordinate to some degree. The names are cute. The names are sometimes it's like, where did they come up with his name? But they are really, really, really cute. So I will tell you, this one is Pear Pizzazz. We're also working with Very Vanilla, and those are the only two colors that we're working with. But I don't know if you can tell with this particular card, I don't know if you can see that, but it is embossed. I did use our Scripty embossing folder in order to do that, and we have so many different embossing folders, and quite honestly, embossing just helps give it that extra little touch, instead of it just being plain cardstock on cardstock on cardstock. Keeps you from having to you know, design the entire card, because it does so much. It makes a huge effect essentially. And so I will tell you the other thing that I did decide to use with these timeless tulips is the Stitch So Sweetly dies set. I did use these dies in order to get some of the little cuts that are on these cards, but I will tell you that you don't necessarily need dies. Dies will add that extra flair to your card. But I am going to be showing you a card that is nothing but simple stamping, so you won't need any of the dies. So if you choose just to get the stamp set, you will see how you can still make a beautiful card without punching out anything, without die cutting anything, because those are investments as well. So unless you want to do that, when we have to cut something out by hand, we call it fussy cutting. And so but if we don't have to fussy cut, then why would you? So I really enjoy it when we have a coordinating punch or a die set, because with the dies you have to have a die cutting machine in order to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and start assembling this card. I will be doing the stamping. I just went through a few steps in order to make sure that I could save some time where I could save some time. So this particular card, we're gonna be opening this way. So it's designed to open from the bottom to top. And so I've gone ahead and scored the base. These are called card bases. And then I'm going to take, you want to make sure to, after you've embossed your paper, that you actually put adhesive on the back part of it. And you'll know, because your embossing is, make sure I get plenty of adhesive on there because I don't want the card to fall apart. But when you apply it on, you want to make sure you're paying attention to the way it's opening, the way the scripty is going, because you could easily do this upside down and not realize it. So we're just gonna put this on like that, and when you do that, you'll put one side down and kind of hold it and put it in place just to make sure that it's not going to be crooked, because I will tell you, this adhesive is so sticky that once it goes down, it's down. If you want to try to take it back up, you will rip your paper. And trust me, a lot of us have ripped a lot of paper in our lifetime and ruined cards trying to do that. And so now the next step we're going to do is, I don't know if you can tell from the card, but these are raised. So these little petals pop up, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to stamp the stem and the leaves first on the card. And I will tell you, because we're using the photopolymer stamp set, that we have to use sorry, move that over there. We have to use a foam mat. Even though I have a hard surface, I'm going to slide a foam mat underneath this little piece of paper. And then this is my scratch paper as well, because we're going to be stamping and it's going to come off and on here. So it's good to always have scrap paper to have underneath. And the two colors that we're going to be using in this stamp set are Garden Green and Blackberry Bliss. So we're going to get, I've got to get my here we go. There's actually two, let's see if I put it back in there. Yep, I put it back in there. There's actually two different stems that are in there, and we're only using the two, but you want to make sure that you have, just open that up. I'm going to have to do this at an angle in order to get this, but you want to make sure that there is two ends to the stem, and you want to make sure that you probably can't see that, but this piece right here is a little more flat because that's where it goes up and meets the bottom of the petal. And then what we're going to do, let's do this, move that around there. We're just going to angle this. So we've got that one, and then because got my little chamois off to the side here, so I'm cleaning that so I can take this off. But you actually could put them both on the same get this on there. You could put these both on the same acrylic block if you line it up really well, but I just decided to do this number. That way one could be just a little higher than the other. Can't see this, but off to the side I have my little chamois, so I'm cleaning my stamps as I go along because it is real easy to get ink everywhere if you're not paying attention. Oh, sorry. There is another block around here that has, I think it's in one of these other boxes, which it is. It is. So I have another leaf on another block, so I'm going to take that off and switch it out with, that would be problem number 245 when you're doing this is when you have blocks and you're sharing blocks with other blocks, so you have to make sure you have enough blocks. So what we're going to do now is just tap this, and then we're going to do the leaves, and then I'll just flip it around the other side to get that part of the leaf, and then I'm just doing the tip just to put another one in there. Let's do another one right there. It's not quite like the other one because there's not enough space from the one that I made the sample with, but no two cards are alike. This is not a mass assembly project. This is totally handmade, and this is our Blackberry Bliss. And I have some scraps. Looking for my scraps. Here we go. Got some scraps off to the side so that we can actually do our petals. Here we go. All right. Goodness. Got some ink on something. Little occupational hazard there. So this Blackberry Bliss, make sure, yeah, I didn't stamp off on it. We have a technique where you can stamp and then stamp off, and I'll show you what that is. I'm going to go ahead and stamp both of these. Just press down. Depending on where your ink is, depends on if it's even. And you can tell with the photopolymer, you can see through, and so you know exactly where you're stamping. But where I was going with is we have a technique that's a stamp off technique. So you ink up your pad, you stamp it on something, and then when you go back and stamp it the second time, you get an even lighter image. So if you want to create like a spectrum of color, fading colors, you can do that. And I'm going to leave this open because I do need to stamp hello. So I go ahead and do all the stamping. Normally we just go ahead and do all our stamping. And because these are photopolymer, you can actually see exactly where you're going to stamp. So you can stamp right there. And I am going to leave this open, but I'm going to leave it off to the side because there's one last step that I do when we're done with the card. And then with the punch, we're just going to set this inside, and I have to press down. I need to stand up when I do this so I can actually get a good, but you can line up your punch, punch it out, go to the next one, punch it out, set that off to the side. I'm actually standing up because it's just easier for me to do this standing up. Now roll up the sleeves now too. I went ahead and did one bow, but I'm only going to get some twine and go ahead and do a second bow. And then I'd like to do it when it's on the roll so that you can adjust the loops to what you need and then pull it tight. And then these scissors have ribbon on them because they are my ribbon scissors, and if you own a pair of ribbon scissors, you know the feeling when your family is looking for scissors and then all of a sudden you see them cutting paper with your ribbon scissors, and it's just, your heart just drops a few beats there. So now that we have this piece stamped, I'm going to bring this card back, and then we are just going to center it, but put it a little bit towards the top. We don't want to put it too far down or too in the middle because we have that little hello greeting that we are going to, and then just press down to make sure it stays down. And of course there's a cat behind me. There is a cat behind me. Somehow a cat got loose, so hopefully he will not bother us. So these are dimensionals. I love dimensionals. I just used adhesive on the back of this to keep this down because I didn't want it too raised because I knew I was going to be using the petals. So, but with dimensionals, we have large ones, and then we also have small ones. And trust me, the small ones come in handy, but if you don't have small ones, you can always cut these in half, and they have a little film on the back that you just peel off, and then from there we're going to just be putting our tulips at the edge of this, and now our card is starting to come together. And then remember the little hello, I'm going to be using a small dimensional. So see, you could put a big one. The big one's a little overkill, but that's okay. At least we know it will stay. And then just cover up the little bottom right there with hello. Now remember our ribbons. We're going to be attaching the ribbons with glue dots. So Stampin' Up! Has a various selection of adhesives, and just put that, and those pretty much stick anywhere you want them to stick. But the first one that we used is the snail adhesive. Kind of reminds you of whiteout tape. It's used almost the same way. These were glue dots. These were the dimensionals, and then I'm going to put another glue dot on the back of this one and put that right there. Now, there's our card. How pretty! And then what I do with all of my cards, unless it's a swap, because there's different rules for swaps, is you always want to make sure that you take credit for cards that you've made. And I have my little hand stamp by Barbara. Just ink that up, and you can put it anywhere on the back you want to put it. I usually put mine right in the middle. Press a little bit, and this shows that I've made this card. So if you've ever gotten a card from me, you will see my hand stamped on the back. Feel free to get creative with that. You can sign it. You never know when you're going to be famous and people are going to be wanting your signature, and you will have gotten it early in the game before they got famous. So this was our original card, and this was the one that we just made. Pretty, huh? And like I said, tulips, these colors can be any color that you want them to be, and as dark as you want them to be. But that's just a simple card that you can make. So I'm going to put this off to the side since we're done with that, and I'm going to close up this ink before I get it anywhere or the cat jumps on top of it, and bring out the next card, which remember earlier I said there's you know, if you choose just to get the stamp set, or say you don't have room for punches, you don't have what you need for dies, there is a method called simple stamping, and this is one of those methods where you're just stamping with the stamps. I dressed it up at the very end with a little piece of ribbon, but other than that, there's no punching, no die cutting. We're just going to be stamping directly on the paper itself. But there is a technique that I will have to show you on here, because normally when you stamp an image on top of an image, you can see where it overlays. And with this particular card, I don't know if you can tell right here, but you can see one of the tulips, and then you see another tulip, but you don't quite see it. You'll know. I'll show you what I'm talking about. But you get that overlay without the double stamping going on, and I'll show you that. These colors that we're using on this card this one is Seaside Spray, which is one of our 2019, 2021 in colors. So we always have a set of colors that are basically seasonal and stay around for a couple of years before they're retired. So this is our Seaside Spray base. And for all you coffee drinkers out there, this is Early Espresso. I love Early Espresso. It's just the perfect color of brown. And then we're also using Berry Vanilla as well. So with that, I'm going to get started on the simple stamping part. And the reason why we do stamping first is because if we mess up, generally you can flip the card over and start over again. But the real reason is, if we went through all this trouble, let's just say with this one right here, if we went through all this trouble and say hello, maybe hello was supposed to be stamped like right here, maybe it wasn't a die cut but right here, and we totally messed that up. If we went through all this and then the very last step we messed it up, it would just we've done it, trust me, it can happen. And so that's why when we stamp, we have to do things in a certain order, so that we can recover when it gets to that point, if we have to recover. So with this one, I'm using a different green. each card I'm doing today has a different green, just to show you the variety of greens that Stampin' Up! Has to offer. And this one is Mossy Meadow. We're going to be stamping the Tulips in Cherry Cobbler. And then we also have the coordinating stamp set for the coordinating cardstock, Early Espresso, to stamp our greeting. So I'm going to get started with the stems first, and I'm going to do them one at a time just because it helps me. And so I'm going to turn my cardstock sideways, start getting that one going. You want to leave enough room for, you know what, let's do this, because I have a feeling that I may end up not leaving enough room for happy birthday. Let's stamp the sentiment first so that we know where. Let's just tap that. Now I'm going to show you something while I have you here. The reason why you see me just tapping is because if you push down too hard, and we have to remind people when we're in classes, but if you push down too hard, I just got ink all over that, and then some people just don't know their own strength, and when they press down, the imprint from anything that's over, oh, I just got that on there, anything over and above the stamp ends up on the paper, and you can ruin your paper and have to start all over, or get some of that off of there, or it just looks blotchy. So I'm gonna clean this off and start fresh. Hopefully that ink that got on my finger won't get on here, but I'm just gonna tap it, tap, 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 tap. Go ahead and get our greeting. There we go. That way I know I'm left plenty of room for the greeting. And just close that up, put that off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and re-ink up. That way I know where to put this. Go that way. I'm going to use the same one. And just go a little bit higher. That way. And then let me clean that. And then I don't want it to go the same direction. I want it to go the other way. So what I'm going to do is, and you may not be able to see that, but I've cleaned my stamp, that way I don't get ink all over me, but I'm going to peel it off and position it going the other way. See if I can get an angle on that. So these are very flexible. I know last night I had to work with this a couple of times. There we go. That way my stem goes in the opposite direction, and I want it to go a little higher than the other ones, and I want it to go higher or a little bit higher, and then the same direction. I'm sorry, the opposite direction. Okay. And then back with, get that off there. Gonna go ahead and stamp some leaves. And I'm stamping them one way, and then I'm stamping them a different way. And then let me get just a little bit of that. And just kind of go like that. Put one in the middle, like, okay. So now we have all our stems and our leaves. And then now let me close this up before I get ink everywhere. And open up Cherry Cobbler. And I'm sorry, but I am not even looking at my iPad right now. So whoever is on with me, thank you for joining me. Just rambling on over here, playing with paper. But I do thank you for joining me. And don't forget, likes, comments, shares, they're all appreciated. And anybody that likes, what doesn't matter what emoji it is, the like, the smiley face, the happy face, if I say something funny, the little laughing emoji, those all get entered for the drawing that I'm doing. And what I'm doing is I'm actually going to be raffling off all 3 of the cards whenever we're done. So the cards that we're making during this demonstration, one lucky person will get them, and I will have to get your mailing address unless I already have it, and then that way I can get these to you. So once again, if you're joining me, thank you, and if you're watching me on the replay, I still thank you. And so let's stamp some tulips now. This one here, pull that down a little bit, this one right here was pretty easy to stamp because it doesn't really touch anything. And so this one's gonna be, oops, that one's a little higher than I thought it was. Okay. You can't really see it, but I know I can see it. So when I do the giveaway, this will be my sample card, and then I'll make sure that you get the one that is this one right here, because I'm not happy with that. But I know you're like, oh, that looks so pretty, but I'm like, oh my gosh, it's totally off. But I'm gonna make it work. So, and on this piece right here, this is the put that off there. This is the technique that I was going to show you, because where's my, oh, hello. You're going to need this in order to pull off the this little effect here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stamp the middle, this middle one, right on the paper. But if I stamped this one here, you're gonna get an overlay of that, and I don't want that. So what we have to do is I have to cover part of this, and so with that I'm just gonna stamp just on a sticky here. I just need some kind of an image to stamp. I'm not trying to stamp the entire image, but let me see if I can get that in there. It worked just fine last night, so let me get that in there so I can, sometimes if I don't leave enough room, punch that out. There's a method for this little piece that comes out, and I will show you later what that's all about. But I wanted to get a cutout, and you want it to be something thin, like a post-it note or something. But what you want to do is you want to overlay this over the one that you just stamped, and then just hold that down and ink up your other, ink up for your other tulip, and then if that'll stay down, great. Let's do this. And then just press down. Now, it came up with it, which is fine, but this is what you want to see. You want to be able to see the image of this tulip, but you also want to be able to see the image of the tulip behind it, but you don't want it to overlap. And so the only way around that is to cover up the first image. You could also do it this way as well if you wanted this tulip to be vice versa. So it looks like this tulip is before this tulip, but you can do it either way. You just have to make sure that you cover up the exact image, and then when you press this down, the ink is going to transfer onto this piece of paper that we can throw away, and then we have left the what we were trying to accomplish. So but you will get ink on your hands. So I didn't bring my little wet wipes over here. So I'm done with stamping. So I'm going to close that up and put that to the side. And then now we're actually ready to assemble this particular card. So I'm going to get the back of our early espresso, and in our classes as well, you do learn there is a front and back to each card, even though you can't tell in this picture. When we go to cut for class, there's a smooth edge, and then there's the edge that we can see that's the back that's a little raised where it was cut when we went through and cut it with our trimmer or our carls. So some of us have carl cutters. So if you know what that is, mine's to the left of me right here, but it cuts a lot of paper at one time, so that you don't have to cut, one or two sheets with our standard paper cutter. So it works very well when you have a lot of classes or you're preparing a lot of kits to go, and it just saves time. So you can see me trying to center that. I don't break out the rulers or anything like that. That just takes too much time. And do this. I just happen to have this Whisper White polka dot tulle ribbon, and I wanted to use it up, so that's why I'm using it with this particular card, even though this is very vanilla. I know we said we had coordinating ribbons, and we do. This one that's very vanilla is it's a scallop lace trim, and you could certainly use this for this card if you wanted to use it, for this card. But I want to use up this polka dot tulle, so I'm just gonna make my bow. I didn't pre-make a bow with that one, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take that off because that one's done with, and finish making the bow here. I like to make it on the roll, and then I can adjust the loops, and then with whatever is left, if it's a big enough piece, I will throw it in my scrap bin, because we use our scraps for everything. You would be so surprised what even the smallest scrap sometimes will do when we're looking for something small and don't want to break open a piece. Right there. And so now we have a little tulle ribbon, and how I'm going to put that on is with, I usually put I use a couple of glue dots, and you never want to touch the glue dot directly sticky. Just because once you touch it, the dirt or oil from your hands makes it less stickier. So this is our card. And like I said, I'm gonna keep this one that I just made as the sample, even though you're like, I don't see anything wrong with the card. I do. So I'm gonna make sure that in the drawing, the one on here on the left is the one that goes out. But other than that, oh, and then I should have not done, close that, forgot. I need to stamp it that I made it. Even though this one's my sample, I will do, let me do this one because I made this one last night. Perfect. Simple stamping and just a little bit of ribbon, and you have a card. I love the colors too. You can play around with colors. You find out what colors coordinate with each other. With the charts, we do have charts that show the different colors that kind of go well with each other. These, I don't know, there's something about that early espresso and the cherry cobbler with the very vanilla. It's just pretty. It's pretty. So that was this card. And like I said, if you wanted to stick with the same color, there's also, we could have done a bow with this lace ribbon as well. And it would have been equally pretty to do that. So let me get these out of the way. And then we're going to be doing our final card. So don't forget, like, share, comment. I'll go back and look at the feed later because I'm not even paying attention to my iPad right now because I'm enjoying playing with paper. Enjoying being with you guys, playing with paper. And okay, so this last card that I've got is I wanted to do something early, and I wanted to do something early for Mother's Day, so I wanted to do a card with timeless tulips for Mother's Day. So I love the colors. We're looking at, there's the card. It's pretty. It's like a bouquet, you guys. It's a bouquet. I wanted to use these colors just because they're springtime, it's floral. I don't know if many of you know this, but my grandparents had a florist in McKinney. It doesn't exist anymore. They're both deceased, but I grew up in a florist, and so to see, you know, stamp sets that have really beautiful flowers, it just kind of takes me back. And so when I made this little bouquet, it made me think of, obviously, my grandparents and all the memories of being in the flower shop and sitting on the giant stool with my grandma and her FTD jacket on, and just the smell of roses. And so I wanted to do something to kind of remember her as well. And so this bouquet is a combination of stamping on the paper, but it's also a combination of using the dimensionals just to help pop things. And then there's a little surprise at the very end, but the colors that we're using on this one is Highland Heather, Blushing Bride, and Old Olive. So those are the three colors that are going on this particular card. And I don't know if you noticed, but the first card that we did, remember, it opened this way, and then the second card that I did opened sideways, kind of like a normal card you would see. at Hallmark. And by the way, whenever I do cards, I typically only will stamp a sentiment on the front. And that's only because there's so many different sentiments that you could put on the inside, and everybody has a different preference. So when we do the classes, everybody has their choice of what they want to stamp on the inside. So that just makes it more personal for them. All I have to do is design the front, and the same thing with the Mother's Day. This particular card opens sideways. I designed this one to open sideways, but you could definitely design it to be more up and down, so you have your bouquet maybe here in the middle with your Mother's Day note at the bottom. But I wanted this to be sideways because I wanted more opportunity for my bouquet to be wider and not limited to just this 3 3/4 inch wide piece of Whisper White cardstock, which this white is Whisper White, so we're whispering. I love Whisper White. So I'm going to put this off to the side, and then we'll get started. This one is super simple as well. We've got, let me put it there, grab my pieces here. On this particular card, I did go ahead and do a lot of the prep work just to kind of speed things up. So I've got my Whisper White Blushing Bride. There's some pieces that I already punched, stamped. I've got that one, and then I've got my little surprise in the basket there. So once again, we're going to open up our Highland Heather, and our Happy Mother's Day stamp is already mounted. I love the photopolymer stamps because you actually can see them. They're clear. You can see exactly where you're going to be stamping. And then our blocks are clear acrylic blocks. So it really does help when it comes to, make sure I'm stamping on the right. This is the right side. You can see exactly where you're going to be stamping, so there's no surprises. When we first all got started with Stampin' Up, there were wood blocks, and if anybody has stamped with a wood block and you're trying to get it to a certain point, everybody knows the method of getting eye level with the table and trying to line things up. So we have come a long way when it comes to stamping. So I want to put mine right there, which is probably about the same area. Get that off. And I'm going to leave Highland Heather open because I've got two different, let me do this so I can actually see. I'll take this stamp off. I got two stamps on this one block, and I want to be able to put that there. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see on the sample card I have there's 3 images. There's actually 4. There's one right there, but there's 3 images that are actually stamped on the card. So there's one. There's 2. And then let me make sure my, oh, I'm glad I made sure because this wasn't clean. The inks will stain the photopolymer stamps, but you can clean, we have some cleaners that helps get most of that off, but I just stamped there just to make sure nothing was going to come up, and it didn't. But it's just stain. It doesn't affect how the stamp is actually used. And then I've got that one right there. And then the smaller one that I had is using Blushing Bride, so I think I'm done with the purple ones because I've already stamped, yeah, I've already stamped Happy Mother's Day. Yeah, let me open up the Blushing Bride. Told you there's a method to this madness sometimes, and so I want to make sure I get it in, that so you can see that, the right order. This one's a different petal that's part of that set, and I'm stamping this one in Blushing Bride. I think I pressed too hard on my sample, and I'm not too happy with my sample, but I'm hoping that okay, let's do this. What did I do with, I probably threw it away. I am looking for, well, let's just do this because it will take me forever to find it if I go looking for it. Just gonna cut another one out real quick because I want to cover that up. On this one I didn't leave enough space, so let's just do this. Take that off, that way it looks like a flower behind there. And then I punched out the Blushing Bride ones, but I didn't do the Highland Heather ones, so let's do that. There we go. And then I also have some, stick that off to the side. I went ahead and punched out some of the greenery, and I brought this over here because this is a silicone mat. I didn't use it last night, but I wanted to show you for today that sometimes when we want to use our adhesive, this is real easy to get on things. So what I do is I use my silicone mat underneath it because it doesn't stick to the silicone, and so, but it will stick to paper, and so I just use that in order to keep from paper sticking together. So I want these to be flat. Same thing with this one. I'm going to put this one out this way, and then we're going to start doing some layering. Let me punch these out because I've stamped them last night, but I didn't punch them out. But yeah, you'll get papers. Oops, let's do this. You'll get papers everywhere at some point. That's why when I'm preparing for a class or just stamping, you get paper everywhere. There's pieces, bits. It looks literally like a mini paper war zone in here when we're done. Oh, that was Sammy. Apparently she scratched herself too hard somewhere. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but it will come together. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back and just start layering. Just start layering the flowers. I will tell you that for the greenery right here, that's the only one that I didn't put down because I wanted to use a mini dimensional on the back of that one. Get that off and just slide it back there and still give it some kind of depth to it, dimension. Peel this one off. I'm gonna stick this one. Let's do this other one, because I want that Highland Heather one to be the one on top. Let's do that, and then get the Highland Heather one right here up front. Kind of finish our bouquet. And then I don't think I did a bow. I didn't do a one before because normally this one's actually a double bow, and I want it to be the entire length, which is about 18 inches. And then I will fold it in half and snip that, and then I'll go ahead and do the bow with double twine, which this is our Whisper White twine. And ribbon, whether it's twine or it's a ribbon, can really just help your projects pop. So I would always have some white twine, oh it's sticky, laying around, and then I want to put that at the very bottom there. Now the only thing is we've got excess ribbon, so once it's on there I will just trim it. Just trim it, and then at some point we're going to put this actually on the card. Let me go ahead and put it on the card. So stick that. Make sure I'm putting adhesive on the right side. We're opening it left to right. So get that on there. Kind of center it. I know people that break out rulers when it comes to this part. And everybody has a preference, but whenever I see that, I just want to go over there and put it on there for them. Just put it on. Just get it on there. It's anxiety sometimes. Get that one centered on there as well. It's coming together. The last piece I want to put on there is we have pearls, basic jewels, and this one has a lot of little ones on it, but I want to use the bigger one. And same thing, there's adhesive on the back of these, and so you don't want to touch them because you want to make sure they stick. But this is our pick your tool, and there's several things you can do with this. And let me put this down on here. I want to put that little pearl right in the middle of the bow, and then just press down, and the adhesive that's on the back of that pearl will stick to the twine. And then if there was any part of the glue dot that was exposed on the back, it'll help just stick even more. And typically with a card that has a dark base to it, we will put a white piece. Let me get an extra white piece here. We will put a white piece on the inside. That way, make sure I'm putting adhesive on there. I didn't put one in my sample. Stuff starts sticking to everything. And you can certainly stamp on this if you wanted to stamp on this, or you could just leave it blank, no stamping. But I think kind of like I Spy, I think, get let's just stamp it there. Just so have something on the inside. And then of course you can put your greeting, one more step. You can put your greeting anywhere on the inside, or write whatever sentiment you want to go on there. Let me close up some of these inks before something gets ink on them. And there is our card. The top one was the sample that I did, and this bottom one was the one that we just did. And the one that we just did used the technique, the technique where I had to stamp and cover up this petal over here in order to get that one in there. And that just helps kind of bring it together, makes it look like it's a little bunch of flowers. But the last step I wanted to show you is we have a product called Wink Stella. I think it's kind of cute. Wink Stella. I like the name Stella too. Kind of reminds me of the film back in, I want to say it was the early 90s, and maybe even 1990 as well, of that had Bette Midler in it. If you're a Bette Midler fan, I think it had John Goodman in it as well. But anyway, she was a single mom raising her daughter who was kind of out of control. But anyway, that's what makes me think of that movie, is the Wink of Stella. So we just take the top off. It's glitter. It's glitter in, I'll put that back on there. I'm gonna shake it up a little bit. It's glitter in a pen. And what I did on my sample, and I don't know if you can see that there, but it's wet. It's wet glitter, and sometimes it just helps with putting a little sparkle on things. I'm just randomly kind of going with the pieces here. And then I'm going to see if you can see that. I can see it here for where I'm at, but it just helps put a little sprinkle shininess on the card. And I don't know if you can see that or not. I don't know if it's going to show up well in this particular lighting, but it does shimmer. The little petals do shimmer. I love this little bouquet. Wish my grandma was still alive. I would so send her this and she would be like, oh my gosh. But yeah. Cute. So those are the cards that we made today. Show you the other ones. That was the first one that we made. This was the simple stamping one that we made, and then this was the one that we just made. And all three of these were made using bring the stamp set back over here, using our Timeless Tulips stamp set, and then the coordinating punch. But I wanted to be able to show you how many different cards you could make with just this one stamp set, and the punch as well. And even if you didn't have the punch, how you could still make a card with no punching, no die cutting, just a simple piece of ribbon at the same time. So I hope you enjoyed those cards. And like I said, one lucky person will get all three of the cards as a prize. So like, comment, emoji, heart, smile, laugh, share, and you'll get entered So one person will get all 3 cards, and then I'll have to make sure I have your email, your mailing address. And the last thing I wanted to show you, and I've already put this together for you, because this took a little time to put together last night, and I wanted to do something a little different with the Timeless Tulips, something on the project end, and this is what I came up with. Let's do this. Cute, huh? Actually made, I made these tulips. I'm gonna pull one out. Let's see if I can pull one out, because they're stuck in there with glue dots, so I just pulled one out. Actually made these. For each one of these tulips, it's 4 tulip punches. And then you have to score down the middle of each one of them, and we do have a score. And once they're you put glue on each side, so I'll have to do a different video to show you how I made these, but they are super cute, and it's all with glue. The glue that I used was right over here. I know I introduced other adhesives, but this one was the Tombow glue. So I actually used glue on these to put these together. And then as far as the stems, right now the only thing I could find were toothpicks. So I used toothpicks, but you can also color the toothpicks, or if you just happen to have floral stems laying around with your craft, then you can use those as well, and then just trim them down. These were white. I used some designer series paper. Pull that one out. The Woven Traditions, I used Woven Traditions to make that one, but it could be, like I said, any color. Well, really any color you want. And then let me get that back in there. This little bag was made using the Best Dressed suite. There's a die cut that actually makes this bag, this little handbag, and I thought it was so cute, so I just went ahead and used that. And then with our daisy, our small daisy punch, I got a cat behind me. With our small daisy punch, I just punched out some flowers, and then put one of our Perennial Essence floral centers on this one. We do have the little tassels that come with the Best Dressed suite, and then our Seaside Spray ribbon, I just tied it on there like that. There was nothing fancy, but it gives you an idea that you can, I don't know, kind of think of it going to the market and then coming back with a basket of flowers. But it's a simple little gesture you could give somebody. I used happy birthday, but you could also change the sentiment to do it this way, to get well, or hi, or whatever the occasion might be. Just add a little tag to it, and it does actually sit up. It could get top heavy, but if you put something inside of it, it'll kind of help hold it down. But just want to make sure you saw that you can do different projects with the tulips as well. So for those of you that have kiddos at home and you want to make some flowers, make a little bouquet of flowers, you can certainly do this. The other part that I wanted to show you that I didn't use in any of these, and let me find with all this paper around here, you would think I would just have a piece. Here we go. Let's do this. Laying around. I do have a lot of paper here. But what I was trying to show you was, I'm looking for oh, here it is. That piece of the punch that is off to the side right here. Let me take this off. I wanted to show you, and I'm going to use I'll just use it on this card right here. So let me get the Blackberry Bliss. Blackberry Bliss, here we go. I'm going to show you what that does, because there is that piece of the petal that will help add, get that open, will add some more dimension to your project. So I'm going to ink this up, and I'm going to do, let's do one, and let's do another one. I'm just going to show you what it does real quick. Let's take that back over. It's real easy to lose things with all this paper right here. So we're going to punch that out and then punch this other one out. And I got some extra pieces out of that I didn't really care for, but it will happen. So these two pieces right here that are part of the punch are actually, you could actually use them for I forgot what these are called. The leaves, if you want to use them for leaves, even though there is one specifically for leaves. But the one that's with the punch is actually one that's designed for the petal as well. So you can use dimensionals to bring up your flower, but if you want to add dimension, another level of dimension to your flower, you can put, I just put a mini dimensional on the back of this one. But when these are punched out, let me get this, which way does it go? There we go. This side right here. Stick that one there. These actually go on both sides of the flower. Did I do that upside down? I did that one upside down. What to do? I swear I lose things so quickly right here. It's not even funny sometimes. We have, where'd it go? Whale. Okay. I don't know if I'm missing a stamp or if I'm doing something wrong, but who knows. But this piece right here is supposed to add dimension. I think I'm missing a piece, or I'm doing something. Clearly I'm doing something wrong. Who knows? Because I've used all my stamps, and the other two that are left are leaves. I don't know, my brain's fried right now. But this piece right here is also for the other side as well. I'm just not sure why it doesn't line up, or maybe it's just supposed to be one side. That's actually the first time I've added those pieces on there, but it is supposed to give some dimension to the flower as well. So I don't know if you can see that. Oh, everything's upside down. Goodness. I'm looking at it the right way, but you guys are seeing everything upside down. So So anyway, there's that one. You could also do the same thing to this one, but then again, this was the simple stamping technique. And then this was the Mother's Day bouquet as well. So I want to do some more cards with this bouquet because it's just really cute, and I want to do some different colors as well. So just keep in mind, a lot of our products do coordinate, so it makes things super simple when it comes to putting cards together, that all the colors look well with each other. And so I do want to thank you for joining me. That's it for these cards, but I do have some other classes that are in the makes right now, so I will be doing another. Let me point you back up. Well, before I let you go, make sure you see there's my website, there's the host code. So if you go to my website and want to order Timeless Tulips or any of the products that I used today, you can go there, use that host code, and any orders of $25 or more will automatically get the kits to make these cards for free along with the tutorials. But other than that, I'm going to point you back up. Make sure I'm looking in the right. Yeah, the cat's gone. So anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the cards that we made. If there's anything that I could do in order to help you, if let's say you're a beginner and you don't know where to get started, a lot of the classes that we're offering, we are converting them into to-go options. So if there's any class that you see or any card that you would like to make, I may already have a tutorial for it. I could just send you the tutorials, and if you're a pro, you can make them yourself, or if you actually do need the kits. So once we're done with this, I'm going to be posting the links where if you just want the tutorials, say you have all the products or you just need some ideas and some coordinating papers, you can just use the tutorials. I know personally for me, I have pretty much everything I need, so sometimes it's just a matter of ideas that will help get you started and get your creativity going. So I do thank you for joining me, and make sure you like, comment, and share my video, and I will be coming back with some more videos. I'm not sure how many will be live, but there may be some pre-recorded ones as well, because I would like to showcase some of the products that we have in our line to help you understand how to use them, but at the same time, the different things that you can create with them as well. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.